let's talk about one of the biggest questions that comes up in the gym. How in the world do you pick the right weight for your workouts? It's a huge deal because getting it right can literally make or break your progress. So let's get into it.
You know the feeling, right? You're staring at that rack of dumbbells, and that question pops into your head. Is this heavy enough to actually do anything? Or am I about to ego lift my way into an injury? It's a really tough balancing act for sure.
And look, the stakes are pretty high. If you go too light, you're just not going to see the results you're working so hard for. You're kind of just going through the motions. But if you go too heavy, your form completely falls apart. Not only does that make the exercise less effective, it puts you at a very real risk for getting hurt.
So where do we even begin? Well, the good news is it all really boils down to one simple golden rule that pretty much cuts through all that confusion.
Here it is, perfectly put by certified strength and conditioning specialist Christy Larson. This right here, this is your guiding star. Challenge yourself, but never ever let your technique suffer for it. This single idea is the foundation for absolutely everything else we're going to talk about.
Okay, so challenge yourself without bad form. Sounds great in theory, but what does that actually feel like when you're in the middle of a set, sweating and working hard? Let's break down the actual physical cues that tell you you've hit that sweet spot. So let's get really specific. According to expert Leonardo Lozano, you'll know you're in the zone when you start feeling that deep tension, maybe a little bit of a burn in the target muscle right around the 8th rep. But the real key is what happens at the end of the set. You should feel like you could have squeezed out maybe 1, 2, or at most 3 more reps with good form. And that's it. This is what's called reps in reserve. And aiming for that 1 to 3 range, that's the money spot for building strength.
Of course, knowing you're in the right zone is only half the battle. It's just as important to recognize when you've missed the mark completely. So let's look at those obvious red flags.
The signs are actually pretty clear on both ends. If the weight's too light, you might not even feel the muscle you're trying to work, and you'll finish the set feeling like you could do a million more. On the flip side, if it's too heavy, your form is the first thing to go. You'll start using momentum, swinging the weight, and you lose that feeling of being in control. The weight starts controlling you. And here is a super crucial point. Your right weight is not one single number. It changes for every single exercise. For big, compound movements like a squat that use a ton of muscle, you're obviously going to go heavier. But for smaller isolation exercises like a bicep curl, you'll have to lighten it up. And don't forget about exercises that require a lot of balance, like single leg movements. They demand way more stabilization, so a weight that feels fine on 2 legs might suddenly feel way too heavy.
Okay, so you found your starting weights, you're in the zone, fantastic. But the goal is to get stronger, right, isn't it? So how do you level up without messing up your progress or getting hurt? Let's talk about progressing the smart way.
Your body gives you a really clear signal here. You know that just right zone we talked about, where those last few reps are a real grind? Well, when those last few reps suddenly start feeling kind of easy, and you got way more than 3 reps left in the tank, that's it. That's the green light. Your body is telling you it's ready for more. But leveling up doesn't just mean grabbing the next heaviest dumbbell. There's a smarter, safer way to do it. First, if you're new to an exercise, please start lighter than you think you need. The goal is to learn the movement, not to max out. Then, before you add weight, try adding more reps. If you're doing 10, can you get to 12 with that same perfect form? Once that feels good, then you can go ahead and increase the weight. And just by a little bit. Go for the smallest jump you can find. Now, we've covered a lot, but if there's only one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this next point. This is, without a doubt, the most important lesson of all. And Christy Larson just says it perfectly again. Form isn't just about safety, but about effectiveness. Think about that. It's not just about avoiding injury, it's about actually getting the results you want. Because really, if your technique gets sloppy, you're not even working the muscle you think you are. You're just cheating the movement, and all that stress goes to your joints instead. Staying in control of the weight means you stay in control of your progress and, most importantly, your health. Form is king.
So there you have it, the complete playbook for finding your just right weight every single time. The next time you walk into that gym, you are armed with the knowledge to make every single rep count. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it?